Okay, today we'll be working on 7-2 circles. The first video helped you go through the first and the second page. You might not need the video, but it's there if you think you need it. Now, the second part is just for my pre-AP class, and we're going to start on number 9 on the second page. Now, why can't you find the center and the radius from this equation? Now, if you look at this equation, it is in a general form. And usually the general form is written for us to decide which conic section is it. Now, since it has an x squared and a y squared and there's a plus, so this is a closed shape. And since the coefficient of x squared is 1 and the coefficient of y squared is 1, so this is a circle. So the general form helps us determine which conic section it is, but it will not help us find the center and the circle, center of the circle and the radius. That's why we need to transfer the general form to the standard form to be able to do that, which is to tell what the center and the radius are. Now, to do that, we have to remember something called completing the square. Okay? So I'm going to jump to number 12 because I think 10 and 11 are things you can do on your own. So if I have, let me make this bigger, x squared plus 12x. And I ask you, this is something that we've done before, let's see who remembers. And if I ask you, what number should I add to this, so I would complete the square. Now, the first thing you would do is that the b, you divide it by 2. So 12 divided by 2 is a 6. Okay? Now, this is how I know that here it should be x plus 6 squared. Now, after you divide by 2, you have to square it, which is a 36. It means what should be added over here is a 36. Okay. So this, which is x squared plus 12x plus 36, it's equals to x plus 6 to the power 2. Now, I hope this was a good reminder. Now, before I move on to number 13, which is more complex, I want to do one more completing the square with you. If you like, you can write that down, like just review it with you. If I have, for example, x squared plus, let's say, 332x, let me make it a little bit smaller. So let's say plus or minus 4x, let's do that, minus 6x. Indecisive. Okay, so what should I add to this to make it to complete the square? So the b, you divide it by 2, you get a negative 3. So that's why it's x minus 3 to the power 2. So I will directly know the factored form of it. Then to know what to add, you have to square this, so you get a 9, and then you know that 9 should be added over here. Okay? Now let's do one more. What if I have an equation? So for example, it's the same concept. So for example, I have x squared plus 6x minus 1 is equal to 0, and I want to complete the square. Now, the first thing that you need to do is move the negative 1 to the other side. So you get x squared plus 6x, leave some space, equals to 1. Now, the middle term you divide it by 2, so you get 3. So I know it's going to be x plus 3 to the power 2. But to know what to add, you have to square it, and then you know that you need to add a 9 over here. Now, remember, since this is an equation, we have to balance this. Like, I cannot just add stuff to my equation. Like, if I added a 9 over here, I have to balance it by adding a 9 on the other side. Because now, x squared plus 6x and 1 were there at the beginning. I added a 9, so I need to cancel it out by adding a 9 to the other side. Now, if you try to move 9 back here, you have to subtract it. Minus 9, so plus 9. Minus 9 is a 0, so basically you did not add anything. So this ends up to be 1 plus 9 is a 10, and that's how you complete the square. Do you need more practice? One more? Okay, I heard you. One more. So x squared minus, let's say, 2x plus 15 is equal to 0. So again, you move the 15 to the other side. So x squared minus 2x is equal to negative 15. You divide this, so you get x minus 1 squared, you divide it by 2. then you have to square it, so you know that you have to add a 1 over here and add a 1 over here. So negative 15 plus 1 is a negative 14, and this would be your final answer. Now I hope this was helpful, and let's see how we can use all of this to try to, so let me delete those. Let me see how we can use all of this to try to change from general to from general to standard. Now, let's look at A. And I hear you saying, oh my god, but this has an x squared and a y squared. What do we do? What you need to do, I'm going to do B first, okay? What you need to do is group the x's together and the y's together. Okay, so we're going to do that. So we have an x squared and a negative 10x, so these are going to be together. And then I have a y squared and a plus 20y, so these are going to be together. See how I'm putting some space between them? Yeah. And the 25 has to go to the other side, so you subtract it. There you go. This is how you prepare it. The x's together, the y's together, and then you move the whole number, which is 25, to the other side. If it's plus 25, you subtract it, it becomes negative 25 then. You do completing the square like we always do. So, the middle term, you divide it by 2, so you get a negative 5. So you know that this will be x minus 5 squared. Then you square it, you get 25. It means you know that you have to add a 25 over here, and you balance it by adding a 25 to the other side. Make sense? Okay, we're done with the x. Now let's move on to the other one, which is y. Again, the middle term, which is the y, you divide it by 2, you get a 10, so you directly know that it's going to be not x, y plus 10 to the power 2. But we need to know what to add, so you square it, so you know you have to add 100, so you add 100 to the other side. Now remember, this has to be a plus, so negative 25 plus 25 cancel out, you are left with 100, and that's it. What do you think? If you know what to do and you organize your work, it's pretty simple. So then the center would be 5, negative 10, and the radius would be 10, which is the square root of 100. That's it. Now I would like you to watch this again if you need to, and try to do C on your own. Now I hope you tried, and I'm gonna try now with you to see what you got. Again, the x's together, the y's together. See the space, and you move the 2 to the other side. Now, divide the middle term by 2, then you square it. So it means that you add a 64 to each side of the equation. I'm done with the x, and then it's going to be x plus 8 to the power 2. Now, let's move on to the y. Again, the middle term, you divide it by 2, and then you square it. So you know you have to add a 4 over here and a 4 over here. And then, inside the parentheses is going to be y plus 2 squared. Negative 2 plus 4 is plus 2, plus 64 is 66. Then my center is negative 8, negative 2, and my radius is the square root of 66. That's it. I just changed it from the general to the standard. Now let's do one more together, which is A, and then please try the rest on your own. So A, let's group the x's together and the y's together, and we move the number on the other side, and so already moved to the other side. Now, x squared, as you can see, is all by itself. There's no other x next to it, so that's it. You don't do anything to it. It's just x squared. Now the y, you divide the middle by 2, and then you square it. You balance that by adding 4 to both sides. So now what you're going to get is y plus 2 to the power 2 is equal to negative 3 plus 4, which is a 1. Now what would the center be? The center is, there's nothing next to the x, so that's 0, -2, and the radius is the square root of 1, which is 1. So if x or y are by itself, there's nothing that you need to do for them. You cannot complete the square for them. They are on their own. So they stay on their own. And then the center would be having an x of a 0. Now, the same thing for y. If y were to be on its own, then again, you put y on its own. And then the y of the center would be 0. Now, please go ahead and try the rest on your own. We'll talk more about this in class.